Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakwadash, and I want to say Shalom to Yaakov Nakwath out there, doing this true diligently. Coming at you once again with another lesson. Another one, just through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai. Don't necessarily have a title for it, but this is dealing with a Reddit post that I came across from Al Jazeera, I think it's pronounced, and it was on the Reddit popular page. And when I watched it, there was a couple things that came to mind. All right, now I think I watched it earlier in the morning. I think the wife was still asleep, so I think I was just watching it um without audio. But it has subtitles, right? Either that, or I might have been watching a lesson at the time, and I think I might have just had it going in the background. So one of those ways. But when I watched it, and some of the comments, I said, all right, let's go ahead and make a lesson about this. I have some things up here, as you can see. Of course, some of these things are already going to be familiar to you brothers and sisters out there. Of course, like the transfer agreement, the Nakba law. So we're just going to basically just roll through it and see where it goes. So I'm going to go ahead and let this play. Now, the title of this video that I'm going to let roll is called Asking Israelis, Where Are They Really From? And we're going to go ahead and see it then. And also, Lord willing, you should be able to hear me a little bit better because when I was testing my recording to make sure everything was all good, the audio was quite low, so I went ahead and just turned it up in the settings. So, Lord willing, that won't be a problem anymore. So, without any further ado, let's go ahead and play this. I'll go ahead and full screen it for you, and we'll go ahead and watch it. So, here you go.
Wait, and where's your guys' family originally from?
In Romania.
My parents are from Israel, but my grandparents are from Morocco.
I'm from Poland, my grandparents, and also they want to grow up
After the Holocaust.
My parents and grandparents are originally from Yemen and Iraq.
Oh, wow. And why did they leave Yemen and Iraq?
They were not wanted where they were not safe where they were persecuted. Yeah, but my grandparents came here in hopes of coming home and being in a place where they're safe, where they can just be.
I came here when I was two years old. I came from New York. My dad's American, my mother's Polish.
I'm half Russian, half Moroccan.
So my father is from Peru, South America. His grandparents are from Turkey, so I'm kind of like from Turkey descent.
He's from Slovakia, Romania.
Kenya in Africa, but you're actually Poland. Grandmother from my mom's side, half Poland and Portugal. Yeah. And my father's side is half Russian, half Ukrainian.
Okay. My family originally from Tel Aviv.
Okay.
There is 50 families that actually build this here, and my family is one of them. They are here like 400 years.
Wow.
Bullshit.
Continue this, and my children from the future will continue it, and it's very proud for me.
So you see just a fucking yapper, just yapping. And you can see down here, this guy says, what was that last guy rambling about? He's from a specific lineage that built Israel 400 years ago. How can you be that delusional? It says, I think that's the point. They are delusional. By their way of thinking, I should be able to go back to Sweden or Germany. I should be able to walk up to a house I like, kick the residents out, and call it my own. It's so wrong, but they think they're above everyone. How do we fight against that way of thinking? So, and there's a bunch of stuff. There's things that I liked. This guy says, so most of you are not Semites, it's actually Shemites. It says, no, they're not. They're just genociding Shemites. Now, that's, if you get into Shemitic lines, that's, you're dealing, a lot of us are Shemites. Not everyone, of course, but anyone that, line of Shem, all right, you can go and look up, let's see if we can find it. The lineage, no, right here. So, the genealogy of Shem, all right, down through Shem, of course, you have Ishmael, which is, the Arabs, all right, the Ishmaelites, the Edomites, the Israelites, the Moabites, and the Ammonites. So, if you're one of those, technically, yeah, you are Shemitic, all right, you're a Shemitic people. Even the Edomites, all right, the so-called white people are technically Shemitic. And then, us, of course, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, who are the Israelites that go up through the line of Jacob, all right, through Abraham and, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, are also, Shemites as well. Of course, you have the Moabites, all right, and the Ammonites, all right, that are also Shemitic as well, and Ishmaelites. So technically, the Palestinian people, all right, or the are technically Shemitic as well. So that's and wherever they're dealing with now, I don't necessarily where a lot of these people come from Morocco, all right. So you can go and look at Morocco, and you can see where exactly. I'm not big on where that is, so it's a place over in Africa. Um, so depending, and you can see it's very close to Spain. In Spain, even though Morocco is in, the Africa, all right, um, it's very, very close to Spain, all right, very close to Spain, and we know Spain is just, there's just Europe, and it's, Edomites, all right, they're just Edomites. They're not, they're one of the people that they're not really even considered Latino, all right, they're just Spanish, all right. That's yeah, Spanish. They don't really call themselves Latinos. They're not considered Latinos. You can go and look it up. Are people from Spain Latino? And it will say no, they're Hispanic. No, people from Spain are not considered Latino. The term Latino refers to the people from Latin America, which includes countries in the Americas where Spanish, Portuguese, and French are spoken, while Hispanic generally refers to the people from Spain or with ancestry from Spanish-speaking countries. There's actually a grid that you can see that that Latino people can be called Hispanic, but Hispanic people cannot be called Latino, which really Latino people shouldn't be calling Hispanic either because they're not. Now you can see Hispanic includes Spain. It doesn't include Brazil, French. How do you pronounce that? Guadalupe, Martinique, Haiti, Saint Bartholomew or Saint Martin. And there's a further list that shows you that right here, it doesn't include really any of these people. So Hispanic, Latino can't be referred to as people from Spain. All right, Latino people can be considered from Mexico or Panama, Peru, Puerto Rico, Venezuela. Right. So Hispanic people are not Israelites. Okay, they're not. They are Edomites. All right, it's just Europe. It's just European. So a lot of those people from Morocco are either Hamitic, all right, or depending on where the origination comes from, they could be Hamitic, all right, Hamites, all right, like over there in that Jordan area and in Sudan, and then a lot of West Africa, of course, is going to be like Israelites that migrated over in that area, and then you have South Africa, of course, which is mostly just Edomites as well. And then you have East Africa and North Africa, which is just a good chunk of just Ham. But yeah, Morocco could I'm not necessarily sure. You can go and look at Moroccan people, and they seem to be some are brownish looking, but they seem to be whitish looking. So there's probably a 50-50 mix. Some of these people are probably Hamitic. Some of these people are probably Ishmael, and some of them are just Edomites, depending on their lineage. Now, you can go and look it up. Where did Moroccans come from? It says Africa or the Middle Eastern. It says they can be traced to several groups and Berber people, Arabs who arrived during Islamic conquest. So probably a big chunk of Ishmael. So the Arabs, you see it. So a lot of Ishmael. So again, technically those people would be considered. So I'm not gonna like that. I don't even know I liked it, but because they are still technically Shemitic. All right, not Semitic, Shemitic. It's the line of Shem, not the line of Sem, and that shows you again that these people are not the people. And it says that Israel told them that they are the chosen people and that the land belongs to them. They saw an opportunity and they took it. They're literal colonizers. And there's more things that I've liked down here somewhere. I just don't know necessarily where. There was things that I liked, but and people are talking about, because that was originally their home. They think they can just go and take it back. Well, it wasn't originally their home. All right, this land of Israel. It was not their home. All right, it was originally ours. All right, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. And I know that seems unbelievable to a lot of people, but that's just because you don't know your history. In order to understand the mystery, you got to know your history. All right, as the apostles of GMS will always tell you. So you got to know your history, man. You got to understand where things came from. Just because one people's in a place now doesn't mean they were the people that were always there. You can look at many different lands, all right, are inhabited by people now that wasn't the original inhabitants, and that is the case with Israel. Okay, now Israel has been a long contested land. All right, after the true Israelites, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans were expelled from that land, and it's been contested for yes, quite a long time. And one of the longest inhabitants, after the diaspora and Israel being scattered, was the Palestinians. But that doesn't mean it belongs to the Palestinians, and it damn sure doesn't belong to these Europeans that are calling themselves Jews now, all right, which are really Amalek, who is, they're basically the grandchildren of Esau, Edom. So they're still Edomites, okay? They're still Edomites. And Amalek refers to these small hatters, all right, these 1948ers, these people that are calling themselves Jews now, all right? They refer to themselves as Jewish, all right? They practice the religion of Judaism, all right? They're not the original people that was in that land. And that's something that they'll take your video down. They'll, ostracize you and criticize you for saying, calling you anti-Sem when it's anti-Shem. And if you were the people, you would know that. But they'll call you all these different names and these proverbs and bywords, just like they will, as Jake that we're going to be called. Oh, you this and that. But if you trace their lineage back to the Bible, you can see who these people really are. And it shows you by the actions and the way that they act that they are an Edomite people. All right. They're, Amalek. All right. But, of course, that goes back to that line of Esau. They go back to that bloodline of Cain. And that's who they are. And by going to scriptures, like we're going to go grab in a minute, Lord willing, like Micah 2:2, you can see that these people are the Edomites. All right, they're not the Israelites. All right, they're not under the curses. All right, like Israel is under. All right, in Deuteronomy, and we've talked about that before. And those curses only really fit the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, and they don't fit these people that are calling themselves Jews now. Okay, so you couldn't be the people. All right, and the other thing that doesn't add up, and you're saying you're back in the promised land, you're fulfilling prophecies and certain things. Well, that prophecy that you're talking about has been yet to be fulfilled because America's still existing. All right, America's still existing. Yahushua has not came back and destroyed anywhere yet, right? So you wouldn't be back in that land. And also another way to disprove that is if you were truly in that land, the only person that's going to be ruled in that day is Yahweh Shem Yahushai. So why in that land is there multiple religions? Why are there Muslim religions taking place? Why is there Christianity that is still taking place and Judaism that's taking place? If it truly was the promised land and that's where you are and you've been set there and the prophecies of the Bible have already came and passed, then there wouldn't be any of that. And there damn sure wouldn't be wars in the Holy Land, and there wouldn't be homosexuals that are still going on because we know that the Lord is against that. So everything that you say does not add up with biblical scripture. So that's, there's actually an image. Let's see, either we're not the people. Let me see if I can find it. It's an image that I might not be able to find it, but I do have it on my phone. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to find it, but let me get it on my phone. I'll show you. Lord willing, let me see. Fuck you. See what was going on in the group chat for work. My bad. Fuck you. Yeah, some bullshit. Let me go and find this post for you. There's a bunch actually. Now that I'm here, Lord willing, I can find and show you because there's a lot of stuff that's good. Gotta scroll way back. Some of these things I've had saved for years. It's really good though. It's worth the wait. Let me try to find it. So we're getting into some stuff over here. I got a bunch of good stuff in here. I got this one. All right. Oh, so here's a good one. This is from Ra'ila Yashrala. Yahushua is coming back. I had posted back in the that he had posted back in the day, and it says, "Come on." Well, I'll read it. It says, if a land was promised to you by Yahweh, you wouldn't have to brutally murder, displace, and terrorize a group of people for 75 years to have it. You just have it to begin with. All right. That's a great one. And that shows you that, again, then they're not the people. Now, this one's really good. This is from a person called Jake Shields. I'm not necessarily sure who they are, but they had this Twitter post, and it says, I was critical of North Korea. Nobody said I hated Koreans. I was critical of China, and nobody said I hated Chinese people. I was critical of Israel, and I have a million people saying I'm a you know what hater. Why do we accept this emotional manipulation? And it's because, these people are, they really have their hands in the pockets of everything. And they'll say that that's an anti Semitic thing to say. All right, but it's not. It's absolutely not. Let's find another one. Let's see. It's in here somewhere. Bear with my ugly ass mug on screen for a minute. It's in here somewhere. Here it is. There we go. So, I'm going to see if I can actually get this to focus. Let me go to the webcam. Figure. Okay, let's see if we can get it. And then focus. There we go. All right, you can see it. It says, Grandpa, there's no history of us on slave ships. We don't serve our enemies for want of all things, and we never had yokes of iron on our necks. And then you can see right here at the top, it says, either we're not the people, or that's not our book. I love that one. It's great. And I'll get my ugly mug off the screen here now. But yeah, it's great because they don't fit the prophecy. They don't fit the prophecies at all. Let's see. That's something different. That's about Harold Wallace and money and stuff like that. But yeah, it's there's all these things that just line up, and when you have unrefutable evidence that keeps popping up and up and up and up and up and up and up that these people clearly couldn't be them, then these people are not the people. All right. Now, there's actually a quote by one of the old presidents of Egypt, Slovakia, and I love it. And it's from Gamal Abdel Nasser. And what he says here is it says, the second president of the United Arab Republic, formerly the president of the Republic of Egypt. He said, the Europeans claiming to be Jews are nothing more than Hebrew-speaking Gentiles. Again, we have two different types of Gentiles. You have the Gentiles that are Israelites that are scattered abroad and speaking and the languages and worshiping the customs of these heathens, and then you have the actual Gentiles that are just heathens, right? It says so they're nothing more than Hebrew-speaking Gentiles. So they're nothing more than Hebrew-speaking heathens. All right, I'll correct what he said, really. Hebrew-speaking heathens, that's all they are. It says the late president of Egypt, Gamal Abdel Nasser, said on television, you will never be able to live here in peace because you left here black, but came back white. We cannot accept you. 1952. They left black and came back white. They left black and came back white. He said it. He's not black. He has no reason to, whatever you want to call us, a black nationalist or whatever you want to try to put all these different names on us because you're afraid and you don't like what we have to say. And what we have to say lines up in the Bible, but you're just too naive to want to understand it, and you will want to understand what can be understood, and then you can't understand the deeper things because it's not given to you, all right? Because you're not the people, right? And it's when you really come into this information and you start realizing who these people are, it's irrefutable, right? There's no way you could say that, it's been a mistake or no, they're this. No, they don't fit the curses, all right? They don't fit the curses. Here's a big one. When did this ever happen? You know what? Let's just go from, what is it, verse 14? So 15, okay? Now, you are under the curses, all right? If you're an Israelite, you are under the curses, okay? It shows you that we went off, all right? The diaspora did happen. Now, 1 through 14 is talking about if, I'll read verse 1. It says, Deuteronomy chapter 28, and it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy power, to observe and to do all his commandments which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy power will set thee on high above all nations of the earth. Now, that didn't end up happening like it could have if we would have been obedient, right? We ended up going off, okay? Now, all these good things, all right? Now, far more bad things, all right, will happen, all right, if you don't do it. Bear with me. Hey, Google, turn on my light. Come on. Hurry up. Only one of them. Hey, Google, turn on my bottom light. Hey, Google, turn on my light. Bear with me 1 minute, brothers and sisters. Lock you. That'll have to do. Oh, all right, that'll have to do. Slack. It's got some issues going on with it. I don't know. Okay, that's enough. That's enough. Cool. It's got some issues going on with it, but that's what happens when, you run smart bulbs. So, but anyway, yeah, man. Yeah. All these curses, if you were the real people, would be upon you. Okay, and they're upon Jake. All right. Well, I'm not going to read the whole thing. I have a video on my page. Multiple other brothers have videos breaking down the curses and talking about them. You can see right here in 17, curse shall be thy basket and thy store. Now, what does that mean? As a matter of fact, it might not get it right, but I'm curious. I want to go over to the Bible Gateway, and I want to just get the Deuteronomy 28. All right, and I want to get in the Good News Translation. Now, verse 16. No, 17. All right. And it says, the Lord will curse your grain, crops, and the food you prepare from them. Which is not necessarily what it's talking about. Curse shall be thy basket and thy store, basically being your place of business, all right, the way you profit. And you can see that Jake's basket, really your basket being cursed is really your pocket, all right, your money, your wallet, right? And that's happens with Jake, right? And they say it's your towns and your fields, and it's not really dealing with that. Now, you can go down and you can see, in verse 21, the Lord shall make the pestilence cleave unto thee until he have consumed thee from off the land, whether thou goest to possess it. The Lord shall smite thee with a consumption. Now, what is consumption? What is the modern version of consumption? All right. Now, they say it's tuberculosis. All right. Now, there's another one here that's really diabetes. Consumption with a fever and an inflammation. All right. Stuff like gout, right, whatnot. With extreme burning and with the sword and with the blasting and with the mildew, and they shall pursue thee until thou perish. And you can just keep on going down and reading through these. But there's a couple of them that you're going to see here. Thou shalt betroth the wife, and another man shall lie with her. Thou shalt build a house, and thou shalt not dwell therein. Thou shalt plant a vineyard, and thou shalt not gather the grapes thereof. Dealing with, the subject in slavery and captivity that we're going to be going in. Well, Jake does a lot of construction, but they never end up living in those houses, right? They never end up living in those houses. Or you might work on a field, tending to grapes and harvesting, but you're never gonna eat them. All right, they're gonna if you're gathering them, you're not gathering them for yourself, right? Now right here, this is going to be a big one, all right? And it says, "Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people, and thine eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long, and there shall be no might in thine hand." You're not going to be able to get them. That's dealing with captivity and slavery, right? And that's, again, you're not under that, all right? You small hatters, you're not under that. That's not something that you've gone under. Another one is, "And now shall become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations, whither the Lord shall lead thee." And you try to say you're the most oppressed people. You're not. And even if you go back, and I wish I could find it, if you go and look at those documentaries of the Hollow, wait for a little bit, cost, all right, if you go and find videos about those things, you can see there's an old video, or at least several of them. I'm sure there's several of them, but at least one that I've seen, where after the United States military had reigned supreme over there, and had disbanded the Nazi German forces, that they had to go through and see what was actually going on in these camps. And one of the things that they did while they were there was tally up people that were slain, all right, people that were killed, and a lot of these people were not Jewish, all right. And you can say whatever you want. I'll try to go and see ChatGPT if I can get it. So there was an old, matter of fact, I'm just going to talk to it. So there was an old video that I came across dealing with the concentration camps, and after the American military reigned supreme over in Nazi Germany, and how they had to go through these camps and basically see the atrocities that had happened and tally up the number of people that were dead. Is there a name for this video? I remember they were going through it, and one of the significant things that I actually remember is a lot of the people that were found dead that they were tallying up were not Jewish. Instead, they were Arabic or other nationalities. Do you know anything about this video? Let's see if we can find it. Right here. Yeah, it sounds like you're thinking of the documentary Memory of the Camps. This film was originally assembled in 1945 by British and American crew films who accompanied Allied troops during the liberation of Nazi concentration camps. The footage was intended to document the atrocities for the German public, but the project was shelved and remained unfinished for decades. It was rediscovered and broadcasted by PBS's Frontline in 1985. And that shows you a lot of these things that they had back in the day, they didn't show until the 80s and late 70s. So, they needed time to, and if you look at some of the shit, it doesn't even look real. All right. So there's some of the shit that doesn't even look real. But, going through it, it says the documentary includes harrowing scenes from camps like Bergen-Belsen, Dachau, Buchenwald, and showing the aftermath you see it, including piles of corpses and emaciated survivors. While the film primarily focuses on Jewish victims, it also acknowledges that the people of various nationalities and backgrounds suffered and died in these camps, including political prisoners, Roma, and others. So what I saw was that at least 85% of the bodies weren't even Jewish. Let's see. It says that's a pretty unusual claim, and it doesn't line up with the broader historical context. You're right; it doesn't add up with the historical consensus on the Holocaust. It doesn't. And I said it, but it doesn't. It doesn't add up. You're right; it doesn't. It says the overwhelming majority of the concentration extermination camps were Jewish. About 6 million Jews. That's crazy. I thought how many people? Because they change the number all the time. They say 6 million. Then they're saying, 11 million, 6 million. Here's the thing that you need to understand. 6 million Jewish, 5 million non-Jewish. So there's only 1 million more Jewish people that were persecuted more. Just a million. And a million's not even all that many people. Because if you go and look up how many natives were killed during colonization, 55 million people, 90% of local populations. They killed so many people it resulted in climate change and global cooling. You're not the most persecuted people. Quit your fucking bullshit. Quit your fucking bullshit. You're not. You're not. All right? You're not. And they'll take this video down. They'll say different types of things, give you a strike, ban your channel. They'll do all these different types of things when you come out and say the truth. But they don't want that. And then they say, the vast majority were Jewish. 6 million. What about the 5 million? I'm gonna confront it. What about the 5 million non-Jews that were killed? Says, yeah, you're absolutely right to bring that up. The 5 million non-Jewish victims of the Holocaust and broader Nazi persecution is very real, well-documented part of history, even though it often gets overshadowed, right? Right here, Romani people, disabled people, Poles, not Jewish Poles, Soviet prisoners of wars, Jehovah's Witnesses, German political prisoners, others depending on the source, and then, gay men, all right? So, you can go, so it seems they only really like to talk about the Jews. All right? You can see right here. Yeah, that's a legit criticism of a lot of people, including historians, educators, and descendants of other victim groups, have brought it up for years. The Holocaust education focuses overwhelmingly centered on Jewish suffering, and while that's an understandable given the scale, it's often come at the expense of the visibility of the other 5 million. So it's almost half and half. So you weren't really even persecuted that much more. All right? And how much of that 6 million is actually even true? How much of that 6 million is actually even true? Right? So when did actual numbers of Jewish deaths come out? You can see right here, the Nuremberg trials mentioned 5 to 6 million Jewish victims. So 5 to 6 million. So 5 to 6 million. Interesting. That means it could almost be half and half with the other people that was killed. Interesting. Why is that? Why is that these people have to say, oh, I'm the most persecuted. I'm the most persecuted. That you have a persecution fetish. All right. Who has the biggest persecution fetish? What race? Nah, be for real. With all we see going on, who claims they're really, I spelled there wrong, really going through it, but in reality have it a lot better than most and are privileged. Not privileged, I spelled it wrong. You see right here. Certain white conservatives in Western countries, wealthy liberals, Zionist Israelis, or their loudest defenders. There you go. Certain incel or men's right. That's what they say. But so, mostly, so if you had to pick one race, if you're twisting my arm and asking for the most overrepresented race and we're playing the real victims card while sitting on a pile of structural privileges, an honest answer, especially in Western world, is white people. Particular middle to upper class white folks. Bam. Bam. That's all I wanted. So yeah, if we're being white folks, take the gold medal in persecution cosplay, especially when it's really not earned. Bam. See? That's all you got to do. Yes, you got to twist their arms sometimes. Yes. It's white people. Always got to be persecuted. He's eating my, oh, it's us. It was us. Oh, I'm sorry. Who's driving the Lamborghinis? Who's living in the giant mansions? Who's doing all that? It's you. You're not the most persecuted people. I'm sorry. Did they kill so many people that the earth literally cooled? No, they did not. No, they did not. You're not that person. You're not that guy, pal. All right, so stop acting like you are. It says, let's get more. Thou shalt plant vineyards and dress them, but shall neither drink of the wine nor gather the grapes, for the worms shall eat them. There you go. There's big ones as we keep going down. Look at this one. The stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. So people are going to be above you. You're going to be very, very, very low. Jewish people own half of the media. What the fuck are you talking about? All right. If you look at all the, famous Jewish inventions or brands owned by Jews, food, game, media, ECT, doing a study on Jewish excellence. You got to do that because then they'll do it. All right. So, Levi Strauss, famous Nathan's Famous. I'll just name the ones that I know. Levi Strauss, Baskin Robbins, Einstein's Bagels, Milton Bradley, Mattel, Sid Meier, Warner Bros., Paramount, Universal Studios, Columbia Pictures, MGM, DreamWorks, Marvel Comics, DC Comics, Netflix, YouTube, Bloomberg, Facebook, Google, Intel, Dell, Oracle, Snapchat, L'Oreal. There you go. More brands. Like 100. Let's see. Ben and Jerry's. Let's see. Little Tykes, Hasbro, Atari, Commodore, Tiger Electronics. We got most of these. Columbus, 20th Century Fox, DreamWorks, CBS, NBC, CNN, New York Times, Washington Post, Estee Lauder, Revlon, Glossier, Spanx, Kenneth Cole, Calvin Klein, American Apparel, Ralph Lauren, Marc Jacobs. What else? What else do we have? Qualcomm, Dropbox, PayPal, Waze, Viber, Goldman Sachs, BlackRock, Citigroup, Bloomberg, H&R Block, The Gap, L Brands, Family Dollar, Costco, Home Depot, Bath and Body, Bed Bath and Beyond, PetSmart. I don't even need to continue to go on, man. I don't even need to continue to go on. Right? That's not oppression. That's not oppression. Right? That's not. Okay? That's not servitude. That's not being in captivity. That's not. All right? You are prospering. You are on the top. Okay? So where is this persecution coming from that you say that you've gone through oh so much? Right? What else do we have? Let's get down here. Let's see. And you don't have to deal with this with your white women either like that. 56. The tender and delicate woman among you, which would not have ventured to set the sole of her foot upon the ground for delicateness and tenderness, her eye shall be evil towards her husband of her bosom, and towards her son, and toward her daughter. There you go. So where is that from? Where is that from? You know? It doesn't make any sense because you're not the people. You're not the people. Verse 68, when have you been on slave ships? And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again, and there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. And if you go back to this word, buy, all right, it really goes back to the word deliver. So no man shall deliver you. You should not be delivered from that situation. So you're going to be sold to your enemies. All right. So you're going to be on ships and sold to your enemies. All right. For bondmen and bondwomen, slaves and captives. When did that happen to you? When did that happen? I don't remember that ever happening to you because it didn't. All right. And you can see, well, when were you brought to Egypt? Well, it's referring to America, really. Spiritual Egypt. Yeah, some people, there's no such thing as spiritual Egypt. I still remember that dumbass saying that on my comment board. This is Revelation 11 and 8. And their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, North Country, Babylon the Great. So there's many different names for Babylon, all right, or America as it really is. And their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt, where also our Lord was crucified. So it's a city that's spiritually called Sodom and Egypt. Is it literal Egypt? No. Is it literal Sodom? No. But the same things that were happening in those lands are happening. So it's spiritually likened unto those lands. Okay? That's what you need to realize. And you don't know that either. Because, again, you're not the people. You are not the people. I mean, I actually wonder what it says down here. They completely butchered it, and you know Deuteronomy 28 it's a bit of some work to break down. So of course, the Good News Translation isn't going to get it, but yeah, man, and there's no way that you could be the people. All right, there's no way you could be the people. Let's go and get it. This is Isaiah 8 and 20. It's usually dealing with false prophets, but Isaiah 8 and 20, to the law and to the testimony, if they speak not according to this word, it is because there is no light in them. They don't have the ability to speak prophetically because they're not the people. All right, they don't know what's going on. They have no idea. They don't even know what the Bible's talking about. Mind you, they don't even read the Bible. All right, they read the Torah and the Tanakh, which have a bunch of abominable shit in it. It talks about bathing a man and boiling a man alive in semen. Okay, so that's what are you doing? What are you talking about? All right, and it's not even. It's lightly based on some of the Bible. All right, they don't believe in Yahushai. All right, they believe in a God. All right, but it's not Yahweh. All right, so they're not the people, and it's time and time again that their actions prove that they're not. Okay, they're not, and they weren't even in that land originally, as we're gonna grab. All right, let me grab a drink. Everyone talks about, oh, the Nazis did it to the Jewish people. Oh, they did something so terrible. They helped them get that land of Israel. I don't know if you knew that or not. Transfer agreement. It says the transfer agreement, the dramatic story of the pact between the Third Reich and Jewish Palestine, is a 1984 book written by the author Edwin Black, documenting the transfer agreement, the Havara agreement in Hebrew. You can go and look that up, between the Zionist organizations in Nazi Germany to transfer a number of Jews and their assets to Palestine. Now, it was Palestine at the time, but it's now considered Israel, all right, part of the Holocaust. Now, what is it? It says the transfer agreement was agreement between Nazi Germany and Zionist organizations signed on the 25th of August, 1933. The agreement was finalized after 3 months of talks by the Zionist Federation of Germany and Anglo-Palestine Bank under the directive of the Jewish Agency and the economic authorities of Nazi Germany. It was a major factor in making the possible migration of approximately 60,000, probably more than that, German Jews to Palestine between 1933 and 1939. There you go. So it says, to mandatory Palestine, and it's all set up. Who would have ever been able to tell you? They didn't teach you this stuff in school. Nobody ever told you that the Nazis helped the Jews get to their homeland. All right, to get to Israel. All right, as they would call their homeland, because they weren't there originally. They're originally Europeans, Polish people, and of other descent, all right, that started masquerading as, Jewish people from, years gone by at this point, by the time, 19, the war and all that stuff going on with Hitler. They'd already been masquerading for quite some time as Jewish people. So, no one would ever tell you that, Nazi Germany made it possible for the migration of approximately, and probably more than that, 60,000 Jews to Palestine. They would have never told you about that, right? Because that goes against the narrative. And they don't tell you about the Nakba and how they went to take that land, all right? Because they weren't originally there, okay? You can see it right here, the Nakba. The Nakba which means the catastrophe, is an ethnic cleansing of Palestinian Arabs through the violent displacement and dispossession of land, property, and belonging. And it's still happening to this day. They're doing it now in that land. That's why they're at war with Palestine. They want more land. All right. It says, along with the destruction of their society and the suppression of their culture, identity, political rights, and national aspirations. The term is used to describe the events of the 1948 Palestine War and mandatory Palestine. All right, going back, where was the they did what? They did what to mandatory Palestine? Oh, so the Nazis helped them get to mandatory Palestine, in which in 1948 they started the 1948 Palestinian War, which was part of the Nakba, an ethnic cleansing. All right, an ethnic cleansing. Okay, there you go. So we'll get in that in a minute. It says in mandatory Palestine, as well as the ongoing persecution and displacement of Palestinians by Israel as a whole. It covers the fracturing of Palestinian society and the long-running rejection of the right to return for Palestinian refugees and their descendants. It says, during the foundational events of the Nakba in 1948, approximately half of Palestine's predominantly Arab population, or around 750,000 people, were expelled from their homes or made to flee through various violent means. At first, by Zionist militaries, and after by the establishment of the State of Israel, because the State of Israel was established in 1948. Dozens of massacres targeted Palestinian Arabs, and over 500 Arab majority towns, villages, and urban neighborhoods were depopulated. Many of the settlements were either completely destroyed or repopulated by Jews, Ammonites, or Amalek. All right, Ammonites are the Japanese people. Amalek is the so-called, small hat 1948er people. All right, did you go back to that bloodline of Cain? All right, through Esau. It says, and given Hebrew names, Israel employed biological warfare against Palestinians by poisoning village wells. By the end of the war, 78% of the total land of the former mandatory Palestine was controlled by Israel. So they conquered this land by violence. Okay, they coveted this land, they wanted it. Okay, and they took it by violence. Going into Micah 2:2. All right, Micah 2:2. We're going to go from verse 1. Micah 2:1. Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it, because it is in the power of their hand. And they covet fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man in his house, even a man and his heritage. So that's what they do. Right? That's what they do. And you can go down here and see what the Lord did. And in verse 3, it says, therefore, thus saith the Lord, behold, against this family do I devise an evil, from which ye shall not remove your necks, neither shall ye go haughtily, for your time, for this time is evil. So, again, Esau is the only people that, and it's dealing with Esau, right, the wicked, and Amalek is really part of that people, because if you go and look up Amalek, all right, you can see that it's the grandson of Esau. We're going to see the grandson of Esau. There you go. So Amalek. All right, that's who they are, the Amalek people. And I don't know what this is, but it says the dangerous history behind Netanyahu's Amalek rhetoric. What is the biblical what is the biblical story of Amalek, and why is it being used in South Africa's ICG case against Israel? I wonder if they're saying that these people are Amalek, and that's interesting. Netanyahu declaring invasion. You must remember what Amalek has done to you, says our Holy Bible. Well, you're Amalek. You're Amalek. You don't, and you know that deep down inside they know that. The higher up they do know. The higher up people do know, but they they control a vast majority of the media. And if you go back into the learned secrets, the learned protocols of the elders of Zion, it talks about the cover-ups and the media control and basically no free press and controlling of the press. And that's what they do. They lie. All right, we can get Psalms 58 and 3, because this has all been a big lie between the iconoclasm, the displacement, all right, all the different things that they do in trying to make themselves seem like they're the people. It's all a big lie. All right, Psalms 58 and 3. The wicked are estranged from the womb; they go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies. And that's what they do. They lie. All right, and then they lie about the lies that they lied about. Right, because they just can't help themselves. They're just liars. They're just liars. They're just liars. Okay? And we're getting really to the end of this lesson because we're at 49 minutes, and I basically talked about everything I wanted to really talk about. But they're not the people. They're not originally from that land. They don't fit the curses that the Bible talks about. Their so-called promised land doesn't fit the prophecy. It's not how it would be if it was. All right, there wouldn't be homosexuals. There wouldn't be war in a promised land. There would be peace. All right, so why would any of that happen? They're not the people. All right, and when you say that, this is the only people. All right, this is the only people. I'm basically gonna say this and then close out. This is the only people that you can get all sorts of hell just by saying. If I said I was an African, I would have no problem. If I said, "Oh, we're the original Africans," you'd have no problem. If you said we're the original Romani, you'd have no problem. If we said we're the original this or that, you'd have no problem. But as soon as we say we're the original Jewish people, all right. If we say the Egyptians aren't the original people, no problem. All right. If we say the Moabite, no, I'll just use by their names that they're called now. If I say that the Chinese people aren't the original people, there wouldn't be as much backlash. But all of a sudden you say, oh no, these Jewish people aren't really Jews. Complete and utter chaos ensues. You get a Kanye West type situation where they make you lose everything. You get your channel removed. This happens. They put strikes on you. They call you an anti-Shem. They say you're, this or that and the other. You lose your job. All these different types of things, right? That's what they do. And why is it that you can say you're any of these other people, but you can't say you're this people? Because it's a protected class. They don't want you to think that you're those people because look, they spent thousands of years trying to perfect this lie that wasn't perfected at all. It has a bunch of holes and cracks through it. But now that people are finding out, mostly in these last 4 or 5 years, all right, is when people have been figuring out these aren't the fucking people. These aren't these people at all. These people are imposters. They're liars. All right, and they're wicked. They're evil. All right, and they're murderers and they're colonizers, just like the other white people. They're just Europeans. They're not the real people. That's what's been happening in the last 5 years. And as this war continues on, people are waking up to that fact. All right, they're not necessarily waking up to the fact that, and there are people waking up to the fact that the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans are the real Israelites, but they are waking up to the fact that the people over there now are not the people. They just don't know who the people are. All right, and they don't want to admit that it's black people, of course, so-called black people and Native Americans and Latinos. They don't want to admit that, so they just keep their mouths shut. But they know that those people aren't the people. So who could it be, right? So that's what's currently going on, man. And these people are they have a persecution fetish. Like they're going through so much. Yeah, you have it so rough owning almost all the media and almost all the major corporations and all the toy manufacturers and all the computer manufacturers. Yeah, you got it real rough. Jake doesn't own anything like that. Jake doesn't own anything like that. All right, it's all Jewish owned. So it shows you, the Bible don't lie. All right, and when you look into Scripture, that's how you find out. That's how you find out. And these devils are liars, and they're going to continue to lie. Again, Psalms 58:3, the wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies. And that's what they do. They just lie. They lie their ass off. That's what they do, and they're going to continue to lie. All right, until Yahushua comes back and destroys this place. All right, and it's known who's really the real people. Right? So that's a lesson. I'm going to close out there. Lord willing, it was edifying. They take it down. Well, it'll probably be somewhere else, but you'll probably either you won't see it or you'll know where to find it. I'll probably put another lesson out, if I can, on where it would be. I don't know. Maybe I'll upload this on a backup channel. Maybe I'll just put this on my. I'll test the waters. I'll see how it goes. But we have the freedom to be able to say these things, but they try to take those things away because again, guess who owns Google? But that's a lesson. All right, we're going to close out there. Again, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. I want to say shalom to you brothers and sisters out there. Keep enduring, keep the faith. We're almost out of here. Until next one, Lord willing. Shalom.